recorded. All right. I have an invocation from Council Member Williams. Would you do the invocation, please?
Oh, Heavenly Father, bless us as we're about to take care of city business. Bless all the participants on this call. Bless all the leaders in the city, oh Heavenly Father. Bless those who have the dreaded disease, COVID-19, oh Heavenly Father, that get well. Also, bless our leadership and our incoming leadership, oh Heavenly Father, because we need leadership at this time. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Williams. Council Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Eason,
Present.
Councilman Herring,
Here.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
Present.
thank you. Councilman Williams,
Here.
Councilwoman Wilson,
Here.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Here.
Councilwoman Jones,
Here.
7 in attendance.
I thought you were going to take root out there in those bushes. I came to see Shane.
I would ask that all of the participants, if you're not speaking, please mute your phone. Please mute your device. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move to adopt the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd like to add something to the agenda. It was a letter sent by the Prince George's County exec concerning the coronavirus relief. I'd like to have that added to the agenda, and I will read it. Any other discussion, any other additions? Hearing none. Council Clerk, would you take the roll,
I'm sorry, Madam President. I was trying to say something and I got muted again. But I want to put I would like to know about the update on the putting the recordings on cable.
all right. Council Clerk, would you add that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Council Clerk, would you take the roll to adopt the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood, Councilwoman Smallwood,
Yes.
thank you, Councilwoman Smallwood. Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
7 in agreement.
Okay, tonight's meeting is concerning the budget. And like I said, I wanted to add this letter from the county exec's office that was sent to us on yesterday, December the 9th. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's dated December the 9th, 2020.
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood, you're coming back in with noise again. The letter reads, "Dear Mayor, as you are aware, the county received a portion of the Coronavirus Relief Fund under the Federal Coronavirus Relief and Economic Security CARES Act and chose to allocate 15 million of these dollars to the 27 municipalities. The funds have federal limitations on how and when they must be used, including that they must be spent by December 30th, 2020 on goods and services that are received on or before that date. Funds that are not spent by then must be returned to the federal government. The agreement signed by the county and each municipality stipulated that funds must be spent by the municipalities by December 15th, 2020. The purpose of this letter is to advise on the grant closeout procedures for the county plans to follow. Any portion of the CRF fund allocations received by your municipality that has not been spent by the reimbursement of the OMB as of the close of business on December 15th, 2020.
Turn your camera off, guys.
I'm sorry. Once again, any portions of the CRF grant allocation received by your municipality that has not either been spent and reimbursed by the OMB as the close of business on December 15th, 2020, or 2, has not been submitted to the county's agent, S&B and Company, for reimbursement by December 21st, 2020, will be reallocated to the county No extension will be granted under any circumstances. Funds returned to the county will be reallocated to ensure that all federal grant monies are expended by December 30th, 2020. That was a letter that the city received from the county. I'm going to mute everybody since nobody wants to mute themselves. All right. And she still unmutes herself and continues to make noise. So that was the letter sent by the county. It seems to me as if we still have time, if we can get this budget passed, that there's an opportunity for us to receive those funds. So with that said, there was some questions about things that we talked about on December 1st in the budget, the changes that were made. I think Councilwoman Smallwood said that there were some things that weren't made. Councilwoman Smallwood, would you like to address those issues? And
Yes,
please tell us
I
what
would.
page you're on.
Right now, I'm on page 13, which starts with the legislative office. I had recommended that we take out the council secretary position and put that back to council clerk. On page 15, I had made a recommendation to reduce the mayor's conference and training from $6,000 to $3,000. And I had also made a recommendation to reduce the COLA from 3% to 1.5%.
Okay. Let's start with the legislative office. We weren't changing the council clerk's position. We were adding the council secretary position. As I stated in the December 1st meeting that we had, that the legislative office is the only office that does not have backup in that office. Council members had early on said, when we first came on board, that there was a request for that there was needed help in the council clerk's office. That's why they were adamant about getting the deputy clerk on board. When looking at the deputy clerk's position, or in the charter, it said that the deputy clerk could not be in the office at the same time as the council clerk was in the office. So we didn't understand how that would be a help to the council clerk and her duties if the person couldn't be in the office. Okay. I think, and I can use our human resource department person, Mrs. Schultz, is online. She can give us a little background on why that is now council secretary, what started that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I went to the attorney and asked for his interpretation of what I was reading in section 902 of the charter. And he concurred that the deputy clerk only serves the functions of the clerk when the clerk is absent. For instance, if there's a meeting at night that the clerk can't go to, if she's out of the office. I asked him, was there anything prohibiting us from putting, i.e. a secretary, an assistant, somebody that would be able to be in the office simultaneously with the clerk? He said there was no prohibition from having another position in the office as long as it was not titled deputy clerk. Based on information he gave me, I drafted a secretarial position, for a part-time secretarial position, to somebody that can come in there and aid council clerk in doing various duties, i.e. they could have been in there the last week and a half, assisting with 2,500 plus mailings. That would not have been possible if it had been a deputy clerk. That is basically the background. I have this information from the attorney in writing, if you have any questions.
Okay, so, and now on December 2nd, in the December 1st meeting, there was a request that the position description of the council secretary be sent to the council, all of the council. I can read that description. The council secretary provides general administrative and clerical support to the city council. I'm sorry. Such responsibilities may include typing documents, compiling and filing records, answering and making telephone calls, scheduling appointments, and completing general office tasks pertaining to the official business of the city council. As required, assist the council clerk with the official actions such as minutes, ordinances, and resolutions. Essential duties and responsibilities. The following statements are illustrative of the essential functions of the job and do not include other non-essential or peripheral duties that may be required. The City of Glenarden retains the right to modify or change the duties of essential functions of the job at any time. Performs general office duties such as typing, filing, and/or compiling documents. Proofreads documents, records or files to ensure accuracy, answers and screens incoming calls, routes calls and/or take messages, place calls as requested, as required, schedules phone and virtual platforms, Zoom, Google meetings, manages sensitive or confidential information, provides assistance with the council events and special projects, assists with preparing meeting packets as required in the absence of the council clerk, may attend work sessions and/or city meetings, preparing or assisting in the preparation of meeting material, records and types meeting minutes for approval by the council and/or the council clerk, and other functions as outlined by the council president, performs other related duties as assigned. Supervision received. This position reports to the council president and works at the pleasure of the city council. Supervision exercised, none. Knowledgeable skills, abilities, and other characteristics. The requirements listed below are representative of the knowledge, skills, and abilities and minimum qualifications necessary to perform the essential functions of the position. Reasonable accommodations may be made to enable individuals with disabilities to perform the job. Knowledge of web analytics and SEO, and experience with multiple social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Instagram. SQL or MySQL process and procedures related to office management. Knowledge of virtual platforms, Zoom, Google Meet, etc. Standard office administrative and secretarial practices and procedures. Record keeping, report preparation and filing methods. Correct English usage, including spelling, grammar, punctuation, and vocabulary. Skills in organizational and communicational management. Assessing and prioritizing multiple tasks, projects, and demands. Working with multiple and conflicting deadlines to complete projects and assignments. Following and providing oral and written instructions. Establishing and maintaining positive and productive working relationship. Ability to learn the policies and procedures pertaining to the work. Work effectively and maintain attention to detail despite frequent interruptions. Use independent judgment within established guidelines. Establish and maintain effective working relationship. Deal tactfully and effectively with staff and the public. Complete work under time deadlines. Proficient in Microsoft Office Suite to include Word, Excel, Access, Publisher, PowerPoint, and Outlook. Maintaining confidential and sensitive information. Experience and education. Any combination any combination of experience and training that would provide the required knowledge, skill, and abilities would be qualifying as a typical way to obtain the knowledge, skills, and abilities would be experience, 3 years of progressively responsible office administration and secretarial experience. Experience in municipal government or similar setting is desirable. Education, a high school diploma or equivalent with supplemental business school or applicable college level coursework. Possess an associate's arts degree from a business or community college in an appropriate curriculum is desirable. Job requirements, possesses a valid driver's license with an acceptable driving record at the time of appointment and throughout the employment. Physical requirements and working conditions. The physical demands and work environment described below are representative of those required by an employee to perform the essential functions of this job with or without reasonable accommodations. Physical requirements. While performing the duties of this position, the incumbent occasionally bends, stoops, kneels, reaches, climbs, and walks on uneven surfaces, and pushes and pulls drawers open and closed to retrieve and file information. Employee must possess the ability to lift, carry, push, and pull material and objects weighing up to 10 pounds. Working conditions. Work is performed in a standard city office environment, although standing and walking between work areas is required. Incumbent must possess mobility to work in a standard office setting using standard office equipment, possesses visual acuity to read printed material, and a computer screen, and hearing and speech to communicate in person before groups and over the telephone. Position type, expected hours of work. This is a part-time position, 20 hours per week. The council will work with you to establish work hours. The city's normal hours of operation are Monday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Occasionally, you may be required to attend evening meetings or weekend meetings. If situations when it is necessary to close the office for an extended period of time, such as COVID-19 as an example, the position will be deemed essential. That is the position description for a council secretary. Pretty much the same thing we would expect a deputy clerk, but it seems like a deputy clerk would have to come in already knowledgeable of how a municipality clerk functions. So that is one, and the reason that we're requesting, or the council has asked for someone to come in and assist the council clerk, just as Ms. Schultz said, we had 2,500, almost 2,500 mailings to do, to mail out, to do this week. Without my help and a couple of the, when they had an opportunity to pitch in, it would have been all left up on the council clerk. And of course, because of this, now she's behind in her minutes. And she's also in the last week and the week before, she is also said to me and the human resource director that she would welcome the help. She's been looking for this help since the deputy clerk was mentioned in the beginning of the 3 years that I've been on the council. So I don't understand why you would want to have that position pulled or taken out of the budget when she clearly is also asking for the help also. When she's not here, like when she was gone for 2 weeks, I sat in the office. Smallwood, please mute yourself. I sat in the office, and it's a lot. And when she came back, some of the things that I had no knowledge of that she, had to be done, she was had gotten behind in those things. So I think it would be, like I said, in every office in the city, there's a backup person. In the administration, the administrative assistant that sits at the receptionist desk, she backs up the executive assistant, and the executive assistant backs her up as far as answering the phones. There's someone in each office that has a second person, whereas the legislative office does not. So I don't see that position being taken out of the budget. In fact, on December 1st, we did do a consensus, whereas the majority voted to keep that position in the budget. We did a consensus from the council on department budget cuts, and for the council secretary position, Council President Robin Jones voted yes to keep that position. Council President Angela Ferguson voted, Vice President voted yes to keep that position. Councilwoman Deborah Eason voted yes to keep that position. Councilman James Herring voted no to not to have the position. Councilwoman Carolyn Smallwood voted no. Councilman Down Juan Williams voted yes, and Councilwoman Celestine Wilson voted no. So with the consensus having been taken, that position will stay in the budget. Now on Councilwoman Smallwood, was something else you mentioned on page 16. Councilwoman Smallwood,
Yes.
you said on page 16 concerning, oh no, that was public safety. I'm sorry, it was page 15. You have a concern about the mayor's
Conference and training,
training.
that should be reduced from 6,000 to 3,000. There's no training, there's no traveling.
Mr. Bratton, are you on?
Yes,
Did you speak with the mayor about the reduction in this council conference and training?
I spoke with the mayor about it. He said he wanted to keep it the same.
Did he give you an explanation as to why?
Some courses that he would like to take. Basically,
Okay, but is he
That's-
traveling?
that was the extent of it.
Okay. All right.
And there was another, Councilwoman Smallwood, I'm sorry, you said, you gave another,
Yes, my other was cutting the colon.
Cutting the COLA. I think we took a consensus on that also, and that was a no.
Okay.
You don't remember us taking a consensus on that?
But Robin, these are my concerns. These is what I asked for. If y'all don't want to compromise on any of the three things, then I will not be supporting this budget.
Thank you, Councilwoman Smallwood. I think Councilman Herring, I think you had some issues you wanted to, that you brought up.
And I only have one, and then I'm going to get off this call because I have to deal with some family issues. As I said in the email that I sent a couple of days back, you know, if you change that council secretary position to what it is in the charter, deputy clerk, I'll vote on the budget. If you're not going to do that, I'm not going to bring it forward. I mean, it's just that simple. You can address the hours by way of a charter resolution. Y'all done already like, but 10 resolutions or 10 charter resolutions. I don't see why you don't address the issue with the charter resolution. But that's my concern. Change it to change the position to deputy clerk, and I'll vote on the budget, and I'll bring it to the floor.
Councilman Herring, like I stated earlier.
The deputy clerk is currently in the budget right now. We are currently working under the 2021,000 budget, which does exist. You know, even though somebody put out some bogus information about and send it to elected officials and everything about we don't have a budget and we don't have access to our money and all that other stuff. That was a straight up lie, because we do, because the charter already implemented a budget for us for 2021. It's just not the budget that the mayor submitted. So my thing is this: either you do or you don't. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. If you don't want to change the description from council secretary to deputy clerk, that's on you.
Okay,
and I don't see why not compromise.
Councilman Herring, I mean, to me, that to get the hazard pay out to the frontline workers in the city of Glenarden and to use the Corona Fund virus, just because we won't change. I mean, the deputy clerk and council secretary, it's just a name change. They're going to be doing the same function, except the council secretary will be able to be in the office with the council clerk. And as you know, I'm looking at this as I'm sorry, give me an opportunity to finish. Looking at this as an opportunity, maybe there's somebody in our community that needs part-time employment that might be able to benefit from this. And then the council clerk has so graciously asked for that, has been looking for the help for the last 3 years, and working in the office with her on certain, when I've been up here at certain times, the work is, right now she says the work is kind of overwhelming because the climate of the council clerk office has changed. There are many tasks that needs to be done. She's working for 7 people. For her to have an additional someone in the office with her 20 hours a week, not to pass a budget because of wanting help in the legislative offices is, I don't understand, you know, what the issue is. We went and got it. I'm sorry. We went to the Human Resource Department. Mrs. Schultz has went to the attorney and made sure that everything would be legally done. So I don't understand, you know, I mean, you're going to hold up a whole budget just because of a title of deputy clerk and council clerk and council secretary. And like I said, the council clerk has been asking, from what she's told me and Mrs. Schultz, for 3 years for the help.
Are you finished, Madam President?
Councilman Herring.
As I said, no, I'm not holding up the budget. You're holding up the budget because you won't do what the charter recommended. The charter says that we can have a deputy clerk. And that's what's in the budget currently. We passed that position in the last budget. We're carrying it forward in this budget. And I'm not understanding why you don't just change the name to deputy clerk. As for help, sure, she can get help. And my thing is this, you can address the position in the charter. It's just that simple. You've already made charter changes. And as for this council secretary position, actually it was done illegally, because the personnel manual is quite clear that all positions have got to be approved, all positions and job descriptions, and even job descriptions that are going to be changed have to be approved by the city council, and that's in the personnel manual. So,
Okay,
so hold it, Madam President, I have the floor now. So basically, to put it out here and advertise that position was illegal. Not having the council approve that position before it was put out for advertisement was illegal. And not even giving us a job description so we can even review it was not even proper protocol. So my thing is this, I say change it to deputy clerk and then go to the charter. Y'all been making doing charter resolutions for I don't know how long. You've done 5, 10 so far. To address it with the charter. That way it won't be no confusion at all. You're creating a brand new position when you don't have to. The charter has already created the position. It's already in the budget. Right now, and it's currently in the budget. Currently, you can hire for a deputy clerk. You just need to address the issue of the hours, and now you can do that by doing the charter resolution. So my thing is put it the way it is in the budget right now, which is a deputy clerk, because you haven't even taken that, you haven't even shown where you've taken that out of the budget. You're trying to change the name of a position that's already in the budget. That budget should be shown in this budget right now. You should be showing a position for a deputy clerk that has been approved already. You should be showing that coming out of this budget, because the deputy clerk was approved in last year's budget and it's approved in the 2021 budget. So you're not even showing this budget correctly. You're not showing the money coming. You're not showing the position of deputy clerk being zeroed out and a proposed position for a council secretary being put in. You didn't even do that. And that's what should be done, because the budget currently right now has an approved deputy clerk in it. So my thing is change it to deputy clerk, and we can go ahead and vote this and be done with it, do a charter resolution and address the hours.
This was already presented to the council. We voted in a consensus to put in the council secretary. 4 is
Well, Ms. Jones, I don't really need to go back and forth with this on this. That's what I want to do. You know what? You're saying you want to do for the citizens, you want to do for the city, but you won't change the basic title. You want everything your way. You know, my thing is, if you thought it was that important, then you would just change the title.
That's what I did. We had the attorney change the title.
The attorney did not change the title.
He didn't change.
The attorney created the position. That's what you just said.
He gave us his opinion that the title could be changed, Mr. Herring.
He did
He
not
gave his
tell you
opinion.
that's not what you just said. He said you can create the position, which is exactly what y'all did. You created the position.
I misquoted.
Title cannot be
The
changed.
position was created by
No, you not misspoke. When you get caught, you misspoke, Ms. Jones. You said exactly what the attorney, what you said before. You went to the attorney.
Created the position. Ms.
And there
Schultz
is nothing
created
wrong
the
with creating
position.
position. You can create whatever position you create. But my thing is this, you got to go through proper protocol to create it. This is not a name change. This is a brand new position. There's no position called council secretary. And so my thing is change the position to what it is now. It's called a deputy clerk.
Mr. Herring, the deputy clerk cannot be in the office. The deputy clerk cannot be in the office at the same time that the council clerk is in the office.
Then address that with a charter resolution and change it. What's the issue with that? Why can't you bring a charter resolution to change that?
And my question to you is, I mean, when you sent this email and you knew and you were aware of these things, I mean, as a senior member on the council, it seems like you would have been a team player and brought it to my attention. And when you got the job description on December the 2nd, why didn't you bring it to my attention or bring it to the council and say, hey, look, this is what we need to do? You wait till we get down to this time now to, you know, we got 2 days or 4 days left where we can get this budget passed so that we can get this relief money in the budget to help people, to help citizens, to help our employees that work diligently through the COVID crisis. And, you know, it's a simple thing as the name change of a position that's going to basically do the same thing.
Ms. Jones, I sent you an email. I sent a whole council email on my feelings on this.
December 8th.
And I told you in that email that it was illegal with the way that council secretary was brought up and proposed and the way it was put down there. So my thing is it went out. You know what? But you can decide what y'all want to do on that. That's on you. You know, I mean, my thing is simple name change. If you don't want to do it, that's on you.
If it was illegal, Mr. Herring, why wouldn't the attorney advise us of that? He advises us of everything else that's illegal or legal.
The attorney told you can create the position. He assumed you were going to follow
No, he did not. Ms. Schultz
protocol.
created the position and he advised us on the council clerk, I mean, the council, the deputy clerk and a council secretary, you know. He advised us that the council, the deputy clerk could not be in the office with the council clerk.
You just said that you talked to the attorney. He said there's no problem with creating this position.
I did not talk to the attorney. The Human Resources Department, Mrs. Schultz spoke to the attorney.
I'm not going to sit and play semantics with you. You know, that's my feeling. You know, I mean, that's my feeling.
Madam President.
Madam President. Councilman Williams.
Everybody on this call, we got better things to do, keep going back and forth. You both made your position. And if Mr. Herring just made a statement, he agreed to bring up the budget. If we change the name to the clerk, and we can then change the charter to address the clerk working at the same time as the deputy clerk. That's administrative change in the charter that can be done. And it won't, you know, it'll take time to do it, but it can do it, but we get the budget passed and people. So can we just go ahead and just, because if that's what's going to get this budget passed, let's do it. And then we can deal with hiring and putting somebody in and changing the charter effective, you know, starting this month. We don't, you know, we can change the charter.
Can I take a consensus on having the change back to deputy clerk? Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
With the caveat that Mr. Herring can go ahead and bring the charter up and we get it and support the budget. That's the compromise.
Okay, so it's worded as if the title of council secretary is renamed back to deputy clerk, Mr. Herring will support the budget. Is that the correct wording?
No,
Yeah,
it don't have to be
email.
that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just say that we change the deputy clerk. This is the record. He's on record saying what he's going to do. And if he doesn't, then he got to deal with that later. So let's just change it to deputy clerk and move forward so we can get the budget passed. And if it doesn't pass, then that's something you got to deal with. It's on record what he said. So, okay.
All right, council clerk,
Yes, ma'am.
would you take a consensus for changing for the council's pleasure as to whether they would like to change the name council council secretary back to deputy clerk.
Excuse me, Council President, so that I'm clear on what we're doing, can Mr. Herring say again what it is that he's proposing?
Councilman Herring?
Yes, just changing the, under the legislative office budget, changing council secretary to council clerk.
We have a council clerk.
I'm sorry, council secretary to deputy clerk, deputy council clerk.
Councilwoman Ferguson?
Councilman Herring. So I heard you to say that to change the secretary, the council secretary back to deputy clerk as it was previously.
Yeah.
And later we could address the charter to change the wording of or the description of the deputy that would pretty much coincide with what we need.
You can strike out the section that the deputy clerk cannot be in the office at the same time as the clerk. That can be stricken out of the charter.
And in doing that, you would support the budget
Yes.
to be
I
passed.
sent you an email. No.
But I'm asking you again, that you would support the budget tonight to pass it.
Well, we can't vote on it tonight. If the meeting had been called as a special meeting, we could have voted on it tonight, which is what should have happened. It was called as a work session. So we can't vote on it until Monday. But I will ask whoever did the legislation to put my name on it as the person to introduce it, because Ms. Jones cannot introduce it because she already voted on it. So on the ordinance, I would have them put my name on there to introduce.
So,
But then I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson, but he says in this email, if the change is made, we can vote on the budget on December 10th after the budget meeting.
that's what you
Yeah,
said.
if you had scheduled another meeting.
That's not what you said. I mean, okay, well, Mr. Herring, I will have to say this. I am sure that you know that for myself, I'm learning and Ms. Jones is learning. For you to say that, then I took that literally with what you said. And if it was something quite different, I would have, expected you to advise, call a work session or a regular session or special session or whatever, because it was my understanding and expectation that, if we did what you asked, the budget could be passed tonight. The checks for the 23 checks can be cut tomorrow. They could be signed, Xerox. The paperwork will be uploaded in the portal. We will meet the deadline and our people will be paid. Now you're saying quite differently. And I mean,
No, I'm not. Ms. Ferguson, I simply said that if the change is made tonight, then we could vote on it tonight. Ms. Jones is the council president. She gets her advice. She gets advice from Ms. Eason. She always referring to Ms. Eason. My thing is, we can't work. She knows we can't vote in a work session. We went through that before. So you would think that they would have called this as a special meeting versus a work session. I didn't even know what it was until I got the agenda, which was what, yesterday? By then, you already got the agenda out saying work session. So you can't change it then. We didn't even get the agenda for one day in advance. That's why it's good to have the agenda out in advance, further in advance.
And if the council clerk had some help in the office, maybe she could get it out further in advance. This is why we're requesting the council secretary.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Council President.
I'm sorry, just a moment.
For the
Councilwoman
record,
Ferguson, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Ferguson, have you finished?
at this point, yes. Yeah.
Okay, Councilwoman Eason, she had her hand up.
Yeah, for the record, I did not speak with Ms. Jones regarding the agenda, except to send an email saying it wasn't out yet because it needed to be out before 6:30 to meet the Maryland Open Meetings Act. So no, she didn't have a conversation with me contrary to what Mr. Herring is stating. Thank you.
Councilwoman Wilson?
Yes. All I have to say is that, sometimes you have to ask questions if you're not clear on something. And it would be wise to, if you're not quite understanding what someone is saying, to ask, what do you mean? How can we do this? So then that way we could have gone ahead and done as Mr. Herring is suggesting. Perhaps, as he's saying, he figured that you knew, or that you would ask someone else or whatever. So I'm just saying, the thing to be arguing about, well, why didn't you say blah, blah, blah? Why didn't you do that? Is irrelevant right now. We're at the 9th hour. Thank you. I'm done.
You're welcome. All right, we're back to the consensus if there's no other discussion. Council Clerk?
Councilwoman Eason,
No?
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood, Councilwoman Smallwood,
I don't see her in the meeting any longer.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Again, Mr. Herring. So what do we have to do to pass this budget before and get this money done, get these people paid before the 15th? So you're saying that we could schedule a meeting on Monday?
Friday.
You can,
On
the
Friday?
Open Meetings Act also allow for emergency meetings. And since we see this as an emergency, if we announce that we have an emergency tomorrow it's 7:20 right now, it's tomorrow at 7:30. That gives you a one-day notice. Right now, we're making it publicly known, shoot out an agenda. This is an emergency situation, and we can't have a meeting in a one-day notice emergency situation to avail ourselves of the funds. So if you want to have a meeting tomorrow at 7:30, that's 25 notice right now publicly being given. We can do it tomorrow at 7:30 and vote on this budget.
With that,
as long
okay.
as Mr. Patton get it.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
As long as he can get us the revised budget in time so we can look it over.
That ain't gonna happen.
And would that include, okay, I know that we're in a public meeting now, that would include getting that agenda out before, on time, and also the sandwich boards done?
You're supposed to have a one-day notice, but I mean, it have emergency exceptions in the Open Meetings Act. So if we want to deem this as an emergency,
I just don't want, I just don't want it to come up with, no little technicalities because we didn't do anything. Even if we had to make the meeting at 8 o'clock, if we don't have time to do it, if it's getting so close to 7:17. And as far as him Mr. Bratton making the changes, he need to get there at 8:30 like he's supposed to, and it shouldn't, it don't take no 8 hours, no 6 hours, so that could be done. So with that said, and what has been said in this meeting, and considering what is at stake and what can be done, considering the letter that was read by President Jones, I would say, yes.
thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson. Councilwoman Jones,
No.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
What are we voting on?
Oh my God.
Councilwoman Smallwood, we're voting to change the title of the council secretary back to the deputy clerk so that the budget can be passed? And they're
Yes.
speaking, thank you, thank you. Okay, so it's 5 yeses and 2 noes,
Thank you, Council Clerk.
no problem.
Okay, so now, so the next step will be that the, Mr. Bratton,
I'm here.
You'll make the changes in the budget tomorrow morning
Yes,
and get it to the council first thing in the morning.
sure.
As Ms. Ferguson said, you're due at 8:30. If this is done by 9 o'clock, we can get the council clerk to prepare the agenda. When is the emergency meeting going to be? Tomorrow at 7:30?
I would do it. I would do it.
I'm sorry,
I would do-
Councilman Herring, excuse me. Ms. Eason had her hand up.
Per the Open Meetings Act, you can schedule a meeting as needed, but the agenda has to be available at least 24 hours before the meeting.
So the agenda would have to be prepared at 7:30 tonight,
It would have to be available.
available at 7:30
Whatever the
tonight.
time, 24 hours before the time of the meeting.
Okay, and this is going to be called a special. Mr.
Special
Herring,
meeting.
I'm
Special
sorry.
meeting.
Special session.
Special meeting, special regular meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. If I may, Council President, I can begin right now. Can we say the meeting with your approval and the rest of the council, that we have this meeting tomorrow at 8 so that I can make the necessary
At 8 p.m.
agenda? Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Now,
Okay.
I'm
I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to
yeah, I
go
understand.
down. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it'll be a special regular meeting at 8 p.m. and this is to vote on the budget. Do I have the wording right?
Yes, ma'am, you do.
I was looking for council persons to their input so that,
I apologize.
thank you,
Yes.
that's okay.
Did you hear me? Am I muted or
There
unmuted?
you are. So this is a
Yes.
special regular meeting at 8 p.m. to vote on the budget.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the other issue, the sandwich boards. The notification on the sandwich boards and the marquee and the all that will have to be done also within 24 hours. Am I correct?
No, this is a public meeting. Madam President,
Councilman Williams?
this is a public meeting so we're announcing it to the public now in a public session and meeting. This is one of the reasons why I do agree with Ms. Wilson that we need to take these and get these transferred to the cable as soon as possible. But this is deemed a public meeting and it's notification in a public meeting that we're having a meeting tomorrow. The rest of it can follow. We're notifying the public as we speak. And that is deemed, and I'm sure the attorney will agree with me that this is deemed notification to the public in a public meeting.
It is.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Now, my next question to Mr. Bratton, if I may ask this question. If this budget is passed on tomorrow, will you be able to get all of the preparations and notifications made so that the county will so that we will be within the timeline that the county has set for us?
We have to, spend the money by the 15th. We would have to do that and make sure we get final paperwork to them no later than the 20th, I believe. 20th or the 21st. The final paperwork with
So you would have the checks
Yeah.
prepared on the 14th, which is Monday, and the 15th, it'll be noted that it's been spent, and then you have to get the paperwork too.
that's it.
Okay, so that's another day that you'll have to come in at 8:30 and get this done. So that, because of course the checks will have to, the checks will come from ADP, so we won't necessarily, as the city, have to sign checks for this, or is this?
ADP.
Okay. Councilwoman Ferguson?
Okay, so my thought was that, okay, so on the 14th, which is Monday, the 23 checks will be cut. And the documentation for those checks that were cut would be uploaded in the portal and sent to the county on the 14th, not on the 15th or the 21st. It should not take 8 hours to cut 23 checks. Unless I'm wrong. Because the whole thing is, at this point, and one of the reasons why I went on, because we're trying to beat that 15th, the 15th, which was mentioned in the letter that you read and the previous documentation that we had that referenced the 15th.
Yeah, the documentation comes from ADP.
What is the process, Mr. Bratton, from ADP? May I ask?
We would submit the order to make the payments and get the documentation mailed to us the next day.
So if you do it on the 14th, you're saying that we have to wait till the 15th for the mailing? Will it still justify us being able to return whatever is necessary to the county by then?
Yes.
You said when you say mail, are you saying mail or it will be via email? Email?
Mail. They mail out the checks.
But what about, okay, they mail out the checks, but do you get, you don't get any type of documentation saying that those checks were cut, like via email?
No. The next day.
You would be in possession of the checks the next day?
Yes.
So on the 15th, then you can, okay. I'll talk to you about it later, because if I'm not satisfied, then.
Ms. Jones?
Councilwoman Eason?
Yeah, I have a process question. Because when I asked about this back in early November, and I asked Mr. Bratton about his timeline, he said it would take him a week to get checks cut. So now I'm hearing this overnight.
It's a week to prepare the documentation, the information about the people getting paid and the checks cut. This is a shortcut process too. But to compute the information about the people being paid.
So has all that already been computed?
Yes.
And another question, in the documentation, in order for the employees to receive the hazard pay, the resolution that was passed back in July, whatever that time frame was, had to be submitted in the portal. Has that been submitted in the portal, the resolution?
I forwarded it to the portal, but the documentation is back up with the checks.
Right, I understand that. I understand. It's two steps. Mr. Bratton, hold on. It's two steps. The documentation that basically said that the governing body approved of paying hazard pay was the resolution that was passed back in July. And that has been uploaded in the portal, yes or no?
Yes.
That's step number one. Step number two is actually paying the employees. Step number three is actually providing all of the employee information, hours, et cetera, whatever, that has to be uploaded into the portal. And you saying now that can be done in a day?
No, we're talking about Monday, right?
Yes,
Monday and Tuesday, yeah.
Monday and Tuesday.
So we got Friday,
Councilwoman-
Monday, and Tuesday.
No, you have Friday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yeah, well, yes.
So I guess, like I said, my question is before, because this situation, we've been talking about this for almost 3 months. So I guess before, when I asked the timeline, you said it would take you a week. So now you're saying you can do it in 3 days? Or
It
2
takes
days?
a couple of days to process the checks. The checks have to be done at least 2 days in advance, and then to process the information, but they will send it to us the next day.
Okay, because you have to show that the, you have to have the proof that folks have been paid. And that's what you're saying you would get on Tuesday from ADP? Is that
Yes.
proof that the employees, no, the
Yes.
proof that they have the checks that were
Yes.
cut?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Just a moment. Thank you, Councilwoman Easton. Just a moment, Councilman Williams. The Human Resource Director, Mrs. Schultz, also helped in the preparation of this. I think maybe she might be able to shed some light on what Mr. Bratton is speaking of. Ms. Schultz?
Yes, what I prepared last week was a spreadsheet of every employee that is eligible for the hazarded pay. How many hours, I'm sorry, excuse me, how many weeks of the 17 weeks that we allotted for that they worked. I gave Mr. Bratton a spreadsheet last week. I have copies of everybody else when they see it. So all he has to do basically is check behind me if he wants to plug it in. But I got the information directly off of 17 pay periods worth of pay stubs. So he has a spread. So that work has already been done.
Councilwoman Easton, I'm sorry, Ms. Councilwoman Easton, you want to respond? Okay. Councilwoman Easton?
Actually, I have one more question. Now, the thing is, since we missed a couple of deadlines, the 60% deadline, the 80% deadline, then whatever that payment is based on the 20% that's left, correct? Because those 2 other deadlines were missed?
No. The deadlines were missed, but that does not mean that cut the money down to 20%.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you have paperwork to show that did you
No.
talk to somebody and they sent validation documentation that where
No,
you actually asked the question that if you missed the 60%, the 80%, and now you're trying to get the hazard pay, can you get the hazard pay from the beginning of the time frame of the COVID or the other remaining 20% that was left? Did you actually send one an email to ask that question?
No.
Thank you.
Councilman Williams? You're muted. Unmute yourself. There
Okay.
you go.
Can you hear me? Okay. For some reason, it's not showing when I'm muted and unmuted on my Zoom. It usually does, but it's not. Okay, I apologize. Why can't we cut the checks manually and not go through ATP on the specials? And if you have to work over the weekend to get this thing done, get her done. Why are we putting it in someone else's hands when this is an emergency situation? We're talking about 23 check. Why can't we do a run ourselves and have it done so it'll be done tomorrow?
Taxes have to come out of the checks.
Beg your pardon?
Taxes need to be paid on the checks.
Okay. You can get, we can pay the taxes. You have them do the work, figure it out, and just how much, and we can send the taxes to the state and to the county and to the feds. I mean, you're a CPA. You figure that out.
Is that all, Mr. Williams?
I haven't got an answer. I haven't got a satisfactory answer. It's been paid. So I'm waiting for an answer.
Okay, Mr. Bratton.
Tomorrow, you're talking about, you're having a meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's after that when we're gonna do this, right?
Say again?
We're gonna do that after 8 o'clock meeting, after it's approved?
No, you can have the checks ready and ready to go and cut. Just don't distribute them.
But if some reason that the budget doesn't pass,
You still have checks ready to go. It's called pre-planning. It's up to you, Madam President, but that's my suggestion.
okay, the next question on dealing with this is I'm sorry, just a moment. Is the legislation. That's going to have to be changed when the council clerk puts this on the website. She needs the legislation.
Sorry, Council President, I stepped away, but I did hear my name somewhat. Were you speaking to me?
No, I was saying that you told me that you would need the legislation to put on the website.
Yes, ma'am. So the marquee is up to date with the meeting for tomorrow. I've informed Public Works of the special regular meeting tomorrow, 8 p.m., virtual. I have the agenda that I just showed you. That's ready. I can put that up on the website under the agenda. I just typically have the legislation and the budget along with it. But I'll probably, I can't put that up. I can put the agenda up, but not the backup.
Okay, so it's a good question. Is the backup also required to be within a 24-hour period?
Ouch, darn it. Council President, I do not believe that the backup, the attachment is required within the 24-hour period. I think it's just, yes, ma'am. I think it's just the agenda that needs to be up within the 24 hours because we're trying to announce the meeting to the public.
Well, they said we have already announced it by being on a public meeting announcing it. So, okay. So we'll just as soon as Mr. Bratton updates the legislation on tomorrow morning, then we can put that up on the website.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President.
Councilman Herring.
Yes, this is for Mr. Bratton again. Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have manual payroll checks?
No.
Excuse me?
No.
No.
I don't think we have manual. We don't use them, so I don't think we have them.
You should always have some manual checks. Excuse me?
We have regular checks.
Okay, so, I mean, because I know on my job, we use ADP and we do manual checks, when we have to. And you just got to calculate, I know you got to calculate the taxes. You also got to calculate the retirement and everything else got to come out of those checks. So you should be able to process those checks and run them through payroll as a manual check.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that you should be able to process a manual check for these employees and figure out the calculation for taxes and retirement, and issue those checks before then. Then you can just run the manual checks through ADP, and that way it'll get everything will get into the system into ADP, and it'll be reflected on their W-2s.
Yeah,
So can you do that?
we can do that, but that's the same thing. But yeah, we can do that.
But I'm just saying it's faster. You can do it over the weekend. You can have the checks ready. You can. But my issue is this: is the mayor going to veto this budget once we vote on it? That's another question. Is he going to veto it? We don't know.
Well, let's give him an opportunity before we jump to conclusions.
I didn't jump to a conclusion. I asked a question. I mean, every time somebody mentions his name, you think it's an attack. At the end of the attack, it's just a simple question: is he going to veto the budget? And is council ready to override that budget? Override his veto, because he sure wasn't ready to override it last time.
I think Councilman Herring, we weren't ready to override it the last time. It's because it had so many flaws in it. Councilman, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Point of order, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Ferguson had her hand up.
Mr. Herring, Councilman Herring, so after we, you said that we needed another resolution, and Ms. Jones couldn't sponsor that one, and you will be sponsoring this one?
Yes.
Okay.
She already introduced it. She voted yes on it, so she won't be able to introduce it. So I put my name on it to introduce it.
All right, any more issues with questions, concerns about the FY 2021 review of the budget? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, the update on the recordings.
Sorry, Ms. Jones, point of order. Sorry. One thing that I would recommend when Mr. Bratton comes in tomorrow, that he contacts someone from the county and get documentation on what amount of money he is allowed to spend. Because they did have those stipulations regarding the 60%, the 80%, and we're down to the 20%. And understanding, the resolution talked about the hazard pay, but then you also have their deadlines that we missed for the 60% and the 80%. So I would say that documentation needs to be provided as soon as he gets in. He may need to contact somebody by phone and get a follow-up documentation in email.
Mr. Bratton, can you call Amber Hicks and get that information?
Sure, but those deadlines will target dates for how much you should have spent by that date, but not a cutoff. Okay,
Understood.
I can verify that though, sure.
Yeah, understood. But right now you haven't spent anything except for the $18,000 and some odd dollars that you submitted a couple weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Eason. Okay, so now we'll, like I said, that conversation is over. We will move now to the in the agenda, and that was update on the recordings. I am still waiting for information from Mayor Estes as his target dates in order to have the recordings updated on the cable.
Madam President.
Councilman Herring.
It is the responsibility of this council and our meetings to have those meetings up. We don't need to wait on the mayor to getting the information from him or get anything from him when we're going to put those up. That we are required by law to advertise these meetings and be as open as possible when it comes down to getting information out to the citizens. We've never had to wait on a mayor, and we shouldn't be waiting on him right now. And I don't understand why you keep on bowing down to a mayor who has not even been at a meeting in the last 8 meetings we've had. So I'm not understanding this. What you need to do is call T-Spec, because there's the software package back there on that computer back there has PowerPoint, which allows you to upload videos onto it and run videos. That's what we need to do and get these meetings out there.
Well, I wasn't aware that we had that capability with T-Spec, but now that you've mentioned it, I appreciate your input, and I will look at that avenue also. But the administration is, from what I understand, is the persons that handle the cable. And I think
you need to read the franchise agreement. It's run by the council, not the administration.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Any other
Ms. Jones?
issues? I'm sorry, Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, I understand that official meetings are not supposed to be edited. However, I think for a couple of the Zoom meetings that were actually, where someone actually went in and shared things of a pornographic nature, those should probably be edited, because I don't think the city of Glenarden wants to be showing pornographic images on their city cable.
Point well taken, Councilwoman Eason. Thank
And
you.
if you want, I would recommend, if you want, talk to the city attorney about that to get his input.
Opinion.
But I don't think that the city wants to be showing that stuff on a cable channel unless somebody wants to get a lot of phone calls.
Thank you, Councilwoman Eason.
Councilwoman Jones?
Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes. However, please don't let that stop us from broadcasting our recorded meetings on cable.
Councilwoman Wilson, I don't see how that would stop us from not broadcasting the meetings. What Councilwoman Eason is saying, those meetings that had the pornographic material on it should not be shown on the cable.
I did not disagree with her, Council President. However, I'm saying that let us not try and decide that, okay, because of that we won't show our meetings. We just have to be more careful with, I guess, the filtering that we have.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wilson.
You're welcome.
Okay. So that was the last thing on the agenda. I want to thank the citizens for participating in the meeting tonight. I hope, since tomorrow will be a special meeting, that means I can have citizens' comments on the agenda. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right. I'll make sure that that's Council Clerk.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll probably have to make an adjustment to the agenda. We didn't think of that. Unless you've already put it on there that citizens' comments will be on that agenda.
Yes, ma'am. That's, excuse me, that's the last item before adjournment.
Yes,
Citizen
ma'am.
comments and questions, 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Madam President,
Councilman Herring.
I'd like to ask that we adhere to the rule of one person having comment one time, because this back and forth debating during these council comments during the citizen comments is dragging these meetings on. They're complaining about the length of the meetings, but yet the same people giving comment after comment after comment. I think it should be like it was before, one comment for 5 minutes and move on.
I'm sorry, Councilman Herring. Since I've been on the council, when we were in person council, persons were given an opportunity to speak. I mean, not 3 or 4 times, but they were given an opportunity to speak or ask questions about things that came up. So I will determine it. I'm sorry, Councilman Herring, I'm still speaking.
Yes, I hear you. And I said this one time. That's when it came up. When you making a statement that's not true, I'm going to correct you. They came up one time and they did their 5 minutes and then they
Councilman
sat
Herring,
down.
your contentious behavior is not going to continue.
And your
That's something
one-sided behavior, Ms. Jones, should not continue.
I will determine how long people will speak, Mr. Herring. I'm the council president. That's my
Well, you know what, Ms.
determination.
Jones, that can be voted on tomorrow.
All right, it can be voted on tomorrow. With that said, if there's nothing else, it is now 7:50 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, citizens, once again for your participation.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.